Now we come to our second objective, which is to create strong validated forms with React-hook-form and validate the data using Yup. So we need to create certain forms using this package, which is called React-hook-form. So we need to install it first, and then we'll talk about it. So I'm just gonna go to my application, open my console, and let me go yarn add, and then let's add React-hook-form. And then one thing also that we're gonna need, which is gonna be the resolvers. So I'm gonna actually get the name, which is called this one at hook. Let me just zoom in a little bit. We're gonna need this also. So this one at hook-form / resolvers. So we need to install that too. Okay, so let me do that right now. So even after finishing all of this, we'll be ready to just go. But let's wait until this one installs first. And then, you know what, let's start working, and then we will see, installing that later. So one of the things, if you go back to React-hook-form, this is how it works. First of all, you import, and then you will use the use form to actually get few things. One of them is the register, and the register is simply used to register the inputs that you have. And then you're going to have the handle submit, and this handle submit is when you submit something, you use this function. And then we have the watch function. This is simply watches the changes that you have in your form. Simply, if you make a change, this watch function, you can console log and see all the different changes you have made to your function. Let me zoom in as much as I can. And then in the form state, we can get something like errors. So when you have certain errors, we can actually get them after validation. And also we have like a reset or something, for example, when you submit and you want to reset and remove all the values from the inputs, you can do that. And the actual, form would look something like that. So you have a form, and then you have an onSubmit, which has the handle submit from here, and then you create your own onSubmit. And then you have your inputs. So all you have to do in your inputs is just to spread this object register, and then with a naming right here. And you can do the validation here, but we're not gonna do it this way. We're gonna use Yup. So all of this sounds cool. So let me actually do that. Let's see if the other one finished installing. It's actually still installing. So we'll wait till it installs, and then we will apply this to our project. So it is done right here. And now let me install the second package. Okay, and let's start working here. So if I go back to my register form, we had this form here. So I can actually do the same, as what they told us right here. I'm gonna go and get this import here. I'm gonna go back, just gonna follow what they want us to do. So I'm gonna add the import there, go back to my code, and let me get this two also. And then go back to my code, and then I'm gonna have it right here. So we've done that, and then simply I can go to my form. Sorry, not there. I gotta go to my form, and I can add an onSubmit. So onSubmit here, and then simply we will use the handle submit function there, and we will pass to it the function onSubmit that we have here. And then simply inside of this, you can create any type of input. Let's say, for example, we have an input here. And this input, we're just gonna go like this and spread values of register here, and then you'll add a name. Let's say, for example, this is name. Okay, this is value of name. And then you can do the validation directly here. As I told you, we're not gonna do it this way, but we can do something like this. So you can add this validation inside the register just for testing now. So I can go right here and add required to be true. Okay, so do we have a problem or something? What we have? Okay, everything is fine, it seems. I don't know what was the problem. It seems we have a problem. Let me actually go back. And okay, so we register. Let me actually take all of this here so I don't, ruin what we have from brackets. Okay, I understand now. Yeah, it should be like this. So we register, this is going to be name, for example, and this is something required. So that means if I had a button right here, which would type submit, and I actually try to say, for example, submit, what I can do is I can go here and I'm going to console few things. So console log right here is going to be the values, and we can use the watch function. I don't know if you're supposed to run it or not, but you will see. And then the second thing, we're going to have another console log, and this one is going to be for errors. And here we're just going to console log the errors objects. And let me go back to my code. So this is, let me go back to my register. This is login. So I gotta go back to my register, and okay, let's test this. I'm gonna inspect here, go to the console, and as you see the values, there's an object right here. So inside of it, I have nothing here. And in the errors, it seems like it's the same thing. So let me try. So for example, I went to added nothing and I submit. And as I submit, in the values, you could say I have nothing. And the errors, in the name, I have an error. And one, you can see the type is required. I didn't define a certain message, but you can see type is required here. So now if I type something, you will see in the values, I get the new value name here, which is nice. So that's the watch function. And the second is waiting for the errors. This is like a basic example. We're not going to do it this way. For me, the validation is going to be done by Yup. So we have to install Yup too. And there is a very good for validation. Let me close Prettier. And let me go back to my terminal here. And I'm going to go yum add and then Yup. Okay. And what we have to do, I want to do it separately. I don't want to do it here. So maybe what I'm going to do is actually go to, let me close everything here. Do I have a folder for utils? I don't. So I'm going to create a utils folder here. And I'm going to create one that is called validation.js. Okay. And I need to import Yup. So I'm going to import all as Yup from Yup. Okay. It seems that's already installed. And then right here, what we will do, let me zoom in a bit so I can explain everything for you right here. So I'm going to create const, and let's call this sign up schema, sign up, and then schema like this. And we're going to use yup.object here. And then simply we'll define the variables that we have to validate. So for example, name, and this one we'll use yup. And then dot string, as everything should be string by default. And then we will add, for example, required. And required, we can have a message like that says name is required. Okay, for example, and maybe I can make it full name is required or something. So that means I can take this and use it. Okay, that is the whole idea right here. So I can go, maybe I can export it directly from here. So export const sign up schema. And I can actually take this, and what I'm going to do is use it here. So how I'm going to do that? So we have to link it using something that is called the resolvers. That's why we have it right here. It's the React-hook-form resolvers. So we install them and everything. And if you go down a little bit, let me just go down, you will see that you have to import it. So this is how you import it. For example, for Yup, we're going to use this way. So I'm going to do that. We're going to go back, and then in the top here, I'm going to import that. Then we'll be back, and you will see here an example. So inside the use form, you add this object with the property resolver, and you add the Yup resolver there. So now let's actually do that too. So inside this, where is it? The use form, I will do that. And then what I have to do now is go back and remove this from here. So I'm just going to only leave the register like this with the name. Okay. And it will look for it in the Yup resolver and will validate it as we done the name here. So what that means, if I went back to my code, so schema is not defined. Okay, of course, understandable, because we forgot to add the sign up schema right, what is it? Right here instead of the schema. And we need to actually import that from utils. Now, if I went back, everything is going to be all right. So let me refresh. And let's see, for example, I try to submit. So you'd see, it's the same thing. I go to errors and I found an error in the errors objects. I found the property name and it has the message. It's actually, and the name is an object. And then you can access the message which says full name is required, and also the type when required and the reference to which inputs it is referring to. So this is nice. And if I want to actually type something and I submit it right now, I get nothing here. So there is no errors here. And this is actually beautiful. So yeah, this is the whole idea of using this type of validation. So this is just the most basic example that you will have. Of course, we're not going to have it this way. We want to show the errors and everything. So let me zoom out a little bit. So instead of using this boring inputs right here, we're going to create some custom components for us to do this job and, the rest of the things that we have to do.